Welcome back. You're watching Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. Senator Ali Wakili from Bauchi South Senatorial District is our guest tonight. Well, distinguished, just before we went on that break, you were talking about security and how it is the fault of the press that Nigeria is, second to the last on policing index. You accuse the Nigerian press of blowing out of proportion reportage. But again, as you rightly just mentioned, all of these killings, which you talked about before we went on break, in Numan, in Taraba, in Rivers State, and even in Benue, all of them happening all at once, maybe in the first few weeks of January this year. Should the press have been silent?
No, the press is not expected to be silent, but in its reportage, it's supposed to be nationalistic. Anything that will continue to make the Nigerians to be apart, it should have been downplayed. But if you look at it, extraneous issues were brought into the killings in terms of tribalism, in terms of religion, in terms of stigmatization, in terms of stereotype, in terms of perception and other things. That is where...
So how would you have advised that, it be patriotically reported?
There should have not been taken sides. Let me be frank with you. The day some of the socio-cultural organizations went to visit the governor of Benue State Autumn, I had for 3 hours watched our station channels. All was dishing out was issues of Fulani herdsmen. From the Benue, they went to Kwara. From Kwara, they went to Ondo. From Ondo, they went to Ekiti. All these things that we are talking about, the herdsman, some of us have said, what is the definition of this herdsman that is the murder? Some of us have said that the definition of the herdsman we know is different from the characteristics of those ones that are being accused. And the fact that those of them that are being accused are the murderous one, the innocent ones, the real herders, nobody bothers to know their characteristics in terms either of how they look alike or how they travel are alike. And the fact that if they are herdsmen, they have cattle, they come and commit havoc. At what speed will they escape with the animals? They can't just disappear in the thin air and other things. And we have said it, there are other factors and perspectives that we should have looked into it.
Can I ask you a question? Yes, only this week, the Senate just finished hosting the summit on security, and interestingly, the Senate did send a delegation to Benue after the killings happened there. Would you also say that the Senate was being partial? Was it taking sides?
No, the Senate was being proactive, was being people, was being sensitive to the Nigerian situation. That is why even before it resumed, it sent out a high-powered delegation to go to Benue to have an on-the-spot assessment. But if you look at the plenary, I have faulted them on one issue, that everything was being heaped or is being heaped on the average Fulani man, especially on the leadership of the Mieti Allah and the Kautal Hori. But up till now that I'm talking to you, nobody has called the leadership of those people to say what's their own views. Even after the security summit, even though it was an in-house function, when they were talking about the fact that Governor Autumn was not invited, I did raise an issue that if he has to be invited to, the other people that were accusing must be given the benefit that they themselves to listen to them. I don't believe the real herdsman that I know.
Do you not think that that also might be exacerbating the issue? Because you have accused the Nigerian press of, of overblowing this, or of focusing solely on Benue. When the killings happened in Amoko, the Senate did not send a delegation there. When it happened in Taraba.
It did. There was a committee under Kabiru Gaya that went to Kaduna, that went to Zamfara and other things. And there were
that went to Rivers as well?
No, it didn't go to Rivers, because the Benue issue, I've told you, took a front burner on all other ones, even though they happened at the same time.
Well, the consensus that seems to be coming out of all that is happening right now is that they're saying the federal police cannot handle this alone. We need state policing. I
disagree. We have the police that we deserved. If you underfund them, if you under-equip them, if you don't bother about their welfare, if you don't return them, if you don't give them enough fund, are they going to live beyond what you provide for them?
Whose responsibility is that?
The responsibility of the citizens and the government.
if it's the responsibility of the federal government as it is right now, where we find a situation whereby states are spending so much and yet cannot get the security that they need when they need it, shouldn't there be a rethink of the current structure?
You see, this issue of state police, you see, since the annulment of the June 20, election of late MQ Abiola, some of us in Nigeria have found a means of bringing certain thinking. They are thinking about Nigeria. They started about true federalism. They go to restructuring. They go to state police and other things, resource control and other things. You see, we are using this one to talk about Nigeria's federation. And
Can I ask you, distinguished?
Yes.
I hate to interrupt your thoughts, but are you happy with the current state of the federation? Do
in
you
terms
think
of
that
what?
In terms of how the federal state of Nigeria is currently structured, do you think this is how a federal state should be structured?
Federalism, if you study it, there is no any federalism that is the same. That of the United States is different from Canada. That of Canada is different from Australia. That of Australia is different from that of India or Pakistan. That of India or Pakistan is different from that of Nigeria. What is this federalism? It's just a covenant. It has two principles: self-rule, shared rule. That is what will happen in Nigeria. We have self-rule and we have shared rule. Our constitution is very explicit. It has provided for the federal, the exclusive and list and the concurrent list.
So in summary, you see nothing wrong with the state?
No, there might be some structural problems, not the way people are thinking. You see, because of the fact that there is this issue that people are seeing that some people are leeching over some others because of the resources that come from their own land. This is the things that are excavating this issue of restructuring in Nigeria.
Do they have a right to feel that way?
They have a right to feel that way.
Do you think it's justified?
It is justified. I am not against restructuring. I am one of the Northerners that really want us to come and look at the issue of restructuring. I come from Bauchi. I come from Bauchi's house. I don't think there is anything if this Nigeria is restructured. In terms of population, I have advantage. In terms of land mass, I have advantage. In terms of mineral resources, I have advantage. In terms of even the hydrocarbon oil that people see me as leeching on them, we have it in abundance. It's only the exploration that stopped. Then in this era that we are trying to talk about alternative energy, I have abundant sunlight, I have abundant wind, so I can navigate and succeed. But what we are trying to say is that people are talking about restructuring to dismember the Nigerian state. They are not doing it with an effort to strengthen the Nigerian state. They want us to go to the Hobesian states. They are talking about...
just in summary now, I have said you're in support of restructuring. I want to ask you, from your first time senator, has your perspective changed in any way in terms of the work that goes on in the Senate?
Well, if you look at my background, instead I have worked for the Nigerian Customs. I will have walked around, I will have known the attitudes, the minds, and the psychology of other Nigerians. I'm, by providence, a distinguished member of the National Institute. I should be able to know certain things about the Nigerian state. But there are other nitty-gritties in terms of local politics, in terms of ethnic externalization, in terms of ethnic thinking that has cropped up in the Nigerian state, that I have come in face-to-face with it, that sometimes I need to rethink about my own attitude towards.
Distinguished, I have to thank you most kindly for coming on Hard Copy.
Thank you for your kindness.
Well, that's the program tonight. We always want to hear from you. Please send us a mail on hardcopy@channelstv.com or use any of the handles on your screen. If you missed an edition, simply log on to channelstv.com. Thank you for watching tonight. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. See you next time.